When I'm thinking about improving a skill to focus on something to be better, I often go to the definition of the skill or the word. For me, words matter. And so I like to know, how do others define it? And so when it comes to collaboration, I looked it up, of course, on the interwebs, and I found that it means to work jointly on an activity, especially to produce or create something. And it's that last bit that I really like to focus on. If I'm looking to produce something or create something or get a different outcome, that's why I focus on collaboration, because I am like to think I know a few things, but I'm certainly not as brilliant as I am with a group of smart people around me. So with that end in mind, there are three things that I encourage you to also embed in your practice to get to those results you're looking for, whether it's to produce something, to create something, or to get better results. And the first thing is to be genuinely curious. Really expand your horizons, achieve better outcomes by having a variety of ideas represented and options shared by others. When you're doing that, think about who is not like you, who's thinks differently. In our terms, from a Fierce perspective, we often introduce a team conversation with the idea of a beach ball. And every single one of those stripes is represented by the different people that are part of your organization, or at the very least, that are part of your think tank, that are helping you to collaborate to get the outcome you're trying to achieve. And really, as you're adopting that curiosity, the curious mindset, focus on learning and growing and expanding instead of just trying to be right. And that will help you to seek the outcomes that you're trying to achieve. The other thing is to think about, when you're seeking input from others, also pay attention to what they're saying. Really listen to understand. Sometimes it's natural when you have others that provide opposing input or opposing perspectives, or it's something you hadn't considered. It's almost natural to dig in your heels and to really then come back with why your idea is the one that you're proposing. And intellectually, I know it makes sense. If you're trying to collaborate, you should be open. And this is one of the best ways to stay open, is to focus on your listening, to truly listen, to understand where the other person's coming from. What are they representing? What is it they're saying? What is it that they're not saying? And really appreciate the diverse perspectives that others can bring when you're collaborating. The other advantage to really listening well, so that you understand where the other person's coming from, not just their words, but also the emotions behind them. You really leave them with a powerful, uplifting emotional wake, and people remember that, and they'll want to come back and collaborate more with you in the future. All right, so the other thing to do, to keep in mind, to embed in your practice as you're collaborating, is really, for yourself, push those boundaries. The longer any one of us holds on to a view or a perspective, the harder it is to appreciate different ones that are come from a different perspective. We tend to really love our well-worn grooves because they're easy and they require little expended thought or action, right? So make it a practice to make yourself uncomfortable, maybe once a week. If you want to start off slower, once a month. You decide where you are, but really find those things that put you on the edge of your comfort zone, because that's where you really have to pay attention. I had a colleague once that was an expat in Belgium, and she described how just the simple act of leaving the apartment with her spouse and forgetting the key took an entirely different amount of effort than if she had done that at home. The need to really pay attention to the surroundings and understand where everything is. It was all new, so all of her senses were heightened. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about when I'm asking you to consider pushing your boundaries. Things like taking part in a group where you aren't the expert, where you know very little about the subject, to offer a perspective. Maybe even take on leading a project that's not in your functional area, to really learn and to understand and make yourself uncomfortable. Another thing is, when you're in those settings, when there's a lot of people talking, whether it's a team meeting, a group meeting, a seminar that you go to, wherever you are, whether there are other people around, raise your hand and ask the question that will reveal to others that you're still learning, right? That you don't know it all. That's the sort of thing that will help you to expand and to grow and to develop some new well-worn paths for yourself. The other thing to keep in mind as you're pushing your boundaries is to seek the unfamiliar. Where are those mousetraps in your functional area of the business that need some reconstruction or some better opportunities to get those outcomes you're looking for? Really push your comfort level. I know that sounds a lot. It's almost become a trite expression, and yet it's so powerful. We learn more when we are paying close attention, when all of our senses are heightened, and that's often on the fringe of where we're comfortable. So if you're looking to improve your collaboration skills, keep in mind embedding those 3 practices that I just mentioned. Be genuinely curious. Listen to understand what the others are saying. Push your own boundaries to expand your view of the world. And then remember to close where you started, right? Ultimately start with the end in mind. Why are you collaborating? What outcome is it that you're trying to achieve? What do you want to create? What do you want to build? With that in focus and these 3 tips embedded in your thinking, your success is practically guaranteed.